Beebbopp.
Hey guys, Beebbopp here. So we've just gone through the first week of Vykas Prague, and I wanted to make a video to give you guys some tips and tricks to help you get through what seems to be the biggest bottleneck for most groups, Gate 3 of Vykas. So this video will be focused on some tips for hard mode. Some of them will apply to normal as well, and it is not going to be a full guide on the fight. There are already some really great guides out there, and I'll link a couple notable ones in the description below. One is Kanon's short 7-minute guide to Gate 3, which is extremely good. He has a guide for each of the gates. Check that out. And then ATK has a very detailed guide with chapter markers, so you can learn the whole fight, all the details, even all the normal patterns. And it's really important to dodge those normal patterns because they build your seduction gauge. This video is just going to focus on those tips and tricks for Gate 3 to help you guys get through. Before we get into it, if you like this video, be sure to like it and also subscribe to the channel. Hit that alarm bell so you get notifications when I upload new content. And check out my stream on Twitch. I do stream all of our raids. So if you want to see some gameplay action, go ahead and follow the stream. All right, let's get into it. So the first tip we're going to capture here is at 135 bars, you're going to have the Booba test. And that's the typing test in the fight. In order to do that properly, you need to clear your seduction gauge to 0. If you don't clear it to 0, that typing test is extremely hard to do, nigh impossible. So in order to do this, you head north and you click the North Cleansing Orb. But sometimes when you click that orb, you can get hit by those little blood droplets that are falling from the sky. They can interrupt you and they can give you seduction gauge. And for some players, they might even charm them. So when you're clicking that orb, a neat little trick is that you click it, and after you activate it, you immediately move north. If you move north, that circle is going to spawn in the north part of the map, which is actually free from those blood droplets. So do that, and you will always get it. You will always get everyone to 0 seduction gauge. So the second tip we're going to go over is something that's going to help you save one of the cleansing orbs so you can use it later in the fight, and that is for the stagger mechanic, which happens at 105 bars. So usually for the stagger mechanic, you will use the rightmost cleansing orb to cleanse your seduction gauge to 0, so you can go and stagger her because she has this nasty circle around her that will build your seduction gauge and prevent you from doing the actual stagger. So instead of using that orb, what we're going to do is we are going to use the Azena Inanna Sidereal when that stagger pops. So we're going to hit that Sidereal, and we're not going to cast it right in the middle. We're going to cast it a little offset so we can stand out of her AoE, and that will cleanse us and also protect us from her AoE around her while you're doing the stagger. That's going to allow us to save that orb for later in the fight, and when we used it, we did it after the tentacles. So when we killed tentacles, we are getting our gauge up to red or 70 or higher so that we can actually do damage to the tentacles. And when we come out of that phase, the next mechanic is going to be our spacebar, collect orbs and spacebar them. You need to have below red seduction gauge to do that properly. Also, you build a lot of seduction gauge in that last part of the fight, getting her to 0 bars. Having a lower gauge with that cleansing orb on the right will help you do that orb mechanic effectively. Everybody will be able to do it at that point, and it will keep your seduction gauge low so you don't overcap when you're getting her down to 0 bars. So that is another helpful tip. Use the Azena Inanna on the stagger check, save that orb for later in the fight. So the next tip we're going to go over is how to handle the ghosts. So ghosts is a random mechanic that can happen where invisible ghosts show up on the map. They are only visible to people with a red seduction gauge. If you don't have a red seduction gauge, you can't see them. And if you get hit by them, you're essentially dead. Now, there is a safe spot at the bottom of the map that you can get to completely avoid the ghosts, whether you see them or not. And instead of having somebody intentionally get to red gauge so they can show people and point people a path to that southmost safe spot, when you see this red rune appear under her, that means the ghosts are going to spawn. You can just book it to the south without having to have somebody spot for you. Stand south, and when she comes to you, have your supports shield the group, and also watch for a counter, because often she will do that counterable attack while you're standing down there. Hit that counter, and you have plenty of time to sit there, let those ghosts pass, go back to the middle, and then resume the fight. The next thing we're going to cover here is the Medusa mechanic. So this can be a tricky mechanic for groups to master, and the thing is, you can just ignore this entire mechanic with a time stop potion. So the way to do this is when you see those black tendrils emit from her, indicating the start of the Medusa mechanic, everybody needs to turn away, and they can stay turned away. Just wait for the red tendrils, the red swirly lines come into her. It's like she's sucking them in. Hit your time stop at that time, and you will avoid the AoE damage that she emits, one-shotting the group. So the last thing is something I wanted to address because I've heard some suggestions that at the 0 bar phase where you have to stagger the boss down, some people have suggested that you have to hit way when she goes to the center. That's not true. The way we did it is once that phase activated and we found the real boss, we would go to that side of the map, and the trick is you have to face away from the center and you have to get behind the real boss to avoid the AoE that starts shooting out at the group. What I would do as the raid leader is I would start heading to the boss, to the real boss, and then I would activate Way on my way there. Way would start to stagger. I still had plenty of time to get behind the boss and do what I needed to do, and then let that AoE pass, and then everybody throw the stagger bombs, avoid damage, wait till your whirlwind bombs come back off cooldown, throw them again. That stagger mechanic is really easy to manage, especially if you get Way off right away. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. I just wanted to give you some quick tips and tricks that are hopefully helpful for you in your quest to defeat Vykas and Vykas hard mode. Good luck to all of you. If you liked the video, again, remember to like and subscribe and catch me on Twitch. And thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.